Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Listen carefully. Let me tell you something people don't like to admit. You do not rise by lowering your standards. You don't climb mountains by shrinking yourself to fit into valleys. You rise by lifting yourself to the level your soul was born to reach. Stop adjusting your crown to fit the expectations of people who have no vision for royalty. There's a reason some people stay stuck, frustrated, mediocre. It's because they keep bending, breaking, and betraying themselves to be accepted by those who don't even know their own value. But a woman of high standards doesn't conform, she transforms. She doesn't dilute herself to be liked. She sharpens herself to be respected. She doesn't settle for breadcrumbs when she's the one who can bake the entire empire. You have been conditioned to believe that being too much is a problem, that being too ambitious, too confident, too clear about what you want is somehow intimidating. Let me break that illusion right now. It's not intimidation, it's recognition. They don't fear you because you're too much. They fear you because you're finally refusing to be less. And don't confuse humility with shrinking. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. The most powerful version of you will not be loud, desperate, or dramatic. She will be composed, silent, watchful. Because when you know your worth, you don't need to shout. You walk in it. You see, when you raise your standards, you will lose people. Let that happen. Not everyone is meant to sit at your table. You are not for everyone, and that is your power. The ones who walk away when you elevate were never aligned with the woman you are becoming. And if you keep holding on to them, they'll keep holding you back from the life you were built to create. There will be days when it feels lonely, when your standards make you feel like you're walking alone. But let me tell you something, solitude is a sacred space for transformation. Queens are not forged in crowds, they are built in silence, in discipline, in sacrifice. Don't be afraid of walking alone for a season. Be terrified of staying average for a lifetime. You want a higher life. It doesn't come with low standards. It doesn't come by saying yes to what insults your soul. It comes when you start saying no without guilt. When you start protecting your energy like it's gold, because it is. And every time you choose peace over chaos, self-respect over pleasing others, vision over distraction, you are declaring to the universe, I am ready for more. There's a fire in you. And no one can light it for you. It has to come from within. It has to come from the moments where you look in the mirror and finally say, I will no longer betray myself just to be accepted by others. That's when everything changes. That's when life stops happening to you and starts happening for you. People will call you too proud, too rigid, too distant. That's fine. Let them talk. People always criticize what they can't control. They misunderstand what they can't manipulate. You're not here to be convenient. You're here to be real. You're here to walk in strength, not stumble in approval. And listen to me, raising your standards is not about arrogance. It's not about thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about knowing that the old version of you is no longer allowed to make decisions for the woman you are becoming. That version tolerated disrespect. That version accepted confusion. That version entertained mediocrity. But not anymore. Now, you choose clarity over chaos, vision over noise, power over pity. You set boundaries without explaining. You walk away from things that feel heavy without apology. You speak your truth not to be aggressive, but because silence is no longer an option. That is what it means to rise. That is what it means to walk like a queen in a world that keeps begging you to kneel. And the more you hold your standard, the more life will rise to meet it. The opportunities, the people, the peace, the purpose, it all starts shifting toward you. Because the universe doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to clarity, to boldness, to belief. So ask yourself, am I living at the level of my value, or am I hiding behind fear, comfort, and the opinions of people who don't even know where they're going? Because if you're going to rise, if you're going to live the life you dream about when no one's watching, you must commit to never shrinking again. The day you decide that your peace is non-negotiable, your standards untouchable, and your vision undeniable, that's the day you become unstoppable. And that woman is not just powerful, she is unforgettable. A woman with standards doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't shrink herself for temporary attention or compromise her essence for surface level validation. She doesn't live to be seen, She becomes impossible to ignore. She walks into a room and doesn't demand respect. She commands it without uttering a word. You think power is in loudness, in proving yourself? No. True power is silent, calm, magnetic. And let me tell you something. A woman who respects herself is the most dangerous force on this planet. Because she cannot be bought. She cannot be lured. She cannot be shaken by opinions, rumors, or temporary love. She's not interested in being admired by the world if it costs her soul. She doesn't light herself on fire to keep others warm. She's not concerned with being nice. If it means being treated like an option, she will walk away from anything that makes her forget her worth. Because the one thing she refuses to compromise is her dignity. You can't play games with her. You can't breadcrumb her. You can't come with confusion, excuses, or empty words. She's been through enough to know the difference between potential and patterns. She doesn't fall for promises, she studies consistency. She doesn't listen to what you say, she watches what you do. Her confidence is not loud, it's unwavering. It's in the way she doesn't explain her decisions. It's in how she chooses silence over drama. It's in the way she walks away from disrespect without a single ounce of regret. That's what it means to be a woman who respects herself. That's what it means to live with standards. She's not rude. She's not cold. She's clear. Clear about what she deserves. Clear about what she won't tolerate. Clear about the energy she will and will not allow into her life. And that clarity makes her rare. And when you're rare, people will either worship you or try to destroy you. But either way, she never lowers herself just to be understood by those who refuse to rise. You see, we live in a world that teaches women to be soft, spoken, agreeable, easy to handle. But no one ever talks about the strength of a woman who is difficult to impress. One who doesn't fall apart the moment she's left alone. One who doesn't change herself to fit someone else's idea of beauty or value. One who knows that solitude is not punishment, it's power. She doesn't chase love because she knows she is the love. She doesn't crave approval because she approves of herself. And that self-respect makes her unshakable. It builds an aura so strong, people feel her presence before she speaks. That kind of energy is not given, it's built. Built through pain, through healing, through lonely nights and quiet battles. Built through the decision to stop needing people who couldn't see her worth. Built by finally realizing that her value is not measured by how many people want her. It's measured by how few are worthy of her. She's not afraid of being alone. She's afraid of losing herself in the wrong company. She doesn't confuse attention for affection. She doesn't trade authenticity for attachment. And when someone tries to cross her boundaries, she doesn't argue, beg, or fight. She simply leaves. Because peace is her priority. Because she's not impressed by chaos dressed up as passion. A woman with standards doesn't move out of fear. She moves from alignment. She doesn't react, she responds. She doesn't explode, she evolves. And that evolution becomes her armor. She becomes so full of self-awareness, self-respect, and inner strength that nothing can convince her to lower herself again. She understands that not everyone will like her. That's not her problem. She's not everyone's cup of tea. She's fine being someone's rare wine. She's not here to please the crowd. She's here to honor her crown. Because once a woman sees herself as royalty, she stops entertaining clowns. She doesn't care who leaves. She cares who's willing to rise with her. Who's consistent. Who brings peace, not pressure. Who shows up with truth, not tactics. That's what she values. That's what she embodies. And because she holds herself to that standard, the world has no choice but to follow. They'll call her intimidating, difficult, distant. Let them. People often label what they can't control, what they don't understand. But she knows. Labels are just noise. And she's not here to be noise. She's here to be impact. So no, she won't chase you. She won't explain herself. She won't dim her light just to fit in your shadow. She'll rise. And if you can't rise with her, you'll watch her glow from a distance. Because a woman who respects herself doesn't just change her life. She changes every room she walks into. Let's get one thing straight. Boundaries are not barriers. They are not walls to keep people out. They are the gates of your throne. They are the rules of engagement in the empire you're building. And if someone can't respect your boundaries, they don't deserve a seat at your table. People will try to make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. for choosing silence over chaos, for walking away instead of explaining yourself for the 100th time. Let them. Because the moment you stop guarding your energy is the moment you let chaos sit where your crown should be. You are not here to be accessible to everyone. You are not here to be available 24/7 for people who only show up when they need something. You are not here to be drained by conversations that go nowhere, relationships that break you, or friendships that thrive on gossip and drama. You are here to protect your power. And your boundaries are proof that you finally understand that. A woman who builds boundaries is not rude, she's wise. She's not cold, she's clear. She knows that love without limits turns into self-destruction. That being kind without caution leads to being used. And that being everything to everyone means becoming absolutely nothing to yourself. You've tried it. You've bent. You've stayed quiet to keep the peace. You've said yes when your heart screamed no. You've tolerated behavior that made you question your own worth. And what did it get you? Anxiety, regret, emptiness, until one day you woke up and decided, never again. That was the beginning of your throne. You see, boundaries don't push people away. They reveal who was never meant to stay. They expose the ones who only respected you when they had access to your weakness. The ones who applauded your silence because it served them. The ones who loved the version of you that never said no. But that version of you is gone. Dead, burned in the fire of every betrayal, every manipulation, every silent tear you wiped alone. And from those ashes, a queen was born. A woman who no longer makes excuses for disrespect. A woman who doesn't allow guilt to break her voice. A woman who will walk away in silence before she lets anyone speak to her like she's forgettable. You are not being too much by asking for respect. You are not too sensitive for needing emotional safety. You are not difficult for expecting honesty, effort, and loyalty. You are simply done accepting crumbs while you bring the whole feast. Let them call you guarded. Let them say you've changed. Of course, you've changed. You've evolved. You've risen. You're no longer operating at the level where fake apologies and empty words satisfy your soul. You're not interested in confusion dressed as chemistry. You don't crave validation from people who aren't even aligned with your spirit. You don't scream anymore. You don't beg anymore. You don't explain what should be self-evident to someone who claims to care. You just leave. You exit quietly. You choose peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. You're building a throne, not a revolving door. And that throne is not made of gold, silk, or diamonds. It's made of decisions. Of every time you honored your truth over their comfort. Of every time you said no and meant it. Of every time you chose yourself, even when it hurt. That's your throne. That's your empire. That's what your boundaries are building. And yes, some people will leave when you raise the bar. Let them. That's the point. Boundaries don't just protect your peace, they protect your purpose. They filter out the distractions, the leeches, the energy thieves, the chaos lovers. So your life isn't filled with noisy, it's filled with alignment. This is not about ego. This is about clarity. It's about knowing what nurtures you and what drains you. It's about understanding that self-respect is not optional. It's essential. You can't thrive while being disrespected. You can't grow in environments that make you shrink. And you cannot be your highest self while entertaining the lowest standards. So don't apologize for being unavailable to nonsense. Don't explain your silence. Don't defend your peace. Just sit on your throne, adjust your crown, and keep building. Because when a woman finally learns to protect her energy, she becomes untouchable. She becomes light wrapped in armor. She becomes fire dressed in elegance. She becomes royalty, not because someone gave her a title, but because she finally stopped giving her power away. And that is the moment her reign truly begins. Let me tell you something very clearly. Being a high standard woman doesn't mean you wear a crown. It means carry one within. It's not in the sparkle of your dress. It's in the fire of your choices. A woman of high standards doesn't wait for life to hand her anything. She creates her life by design, not by default. She's not surviving, she's building, step by step, choice by choice, moment by moment. Not for applause, not for likes, not for validation from the world. She's building herself for herself. She doesn't need to prove her worth, she walks in it. She doesn't scream power, she radiates it. It's in her eyes, in her silence, in the way she chooses her battles. She doesn't compete, She elevates. She doesn't copy trends. She creates the standard. She knows exactly who she is and who she's not. And that kind of clarity makes her dangerous in a world that profits from confused minds and insecure hearts. You think it's easy to be her? No. It takes brutal self-honesty, discipline, sacrifice, and insane courage. Because building yourself means you have to let go of who the world told you to be. It means cutting ties with comfort, with mediocrity, with people who only loved you when you were easy to control. You build yourself when you choose solitude over shallow connections. You build yourself when you wake up before the excuses. You build yourself when you invest in your mind, your craft, your character, not for a moment of attention, but for a lifetime of impact. She's not chasing happiness in someone's arms. She's creating fulfillment in her soul. She's not desperate for love. She knows that self-love is the foundation for any real connection. She doesn't attach herself to someone who brings temporary warmth and permanent confusion. She'd rather sleep alone in peace than lay beside someone who drains her spirit. She's not looking to be saved. She's already saving herself. Brick by brick, floor by floor, choice by choice. And because of that, her presence becomes untouchable. She doesn't walk into a room trying to be noticed. The room shifts because her energy enters first. Not because she's loud, but because she's centered. She doesn't fold under pressure, she sharpens. When life throws storms, she doesn't pray for them to stop. She learns how to dance in the middle of the downpour. Her strength is not in how tough she acts, but in how gently she rises even when everything in her breaks. That's what building yourself really is. It's not glamorous. It's not filtered. It's raw, messy, exhausting, and absolutely worth it. Because the version of you on the other side of the pain is the version that doesn't just survive, she reigns. And no, she's not waiting to be chosen. She chooses herself every single day, in the mirror, in her decisions, in the way she shows up for herself. She's not interested in impressing people who can't even impress themselves. She's not thirsty for validation. She's hungry for evolution. She invests in her mind like it's a kingdom. She treats her time like it's treasure. She keeps her circle clean, her energy guarded, and her goals louder than the noise around her. She knows that one moment of discipline can save her from years of regret. So while others scroll, compare, complain, she builds. And yes, she gets tired. Yes, she cries. But she doesn't quit. Because she didn't come this far to blend in with the crowd. She came to lead. She came to raise the standard, not just for herself, but for every woman who forgot who the hell she was. Because once a woman remembers her power, everything changes. She doesn't chase anyone. She doesn't beg for anything. She doesn't question her reflection anymore. She speaks differently, walks differently, thinks differently, and it shows in her aura, in her energy, in the silence that follows her no. She doesn't respond to disrespect with chaos. She responds with distance. She doesn't argue to be understood. She leaves to be at peace. That's a woman who has built herself. A woman who has turned pain into wisdom, heartbreak into clarity, and rejection into redirection. And that kind of woman, she's not found, she's earned through pain, through patience, through persistence. She's not afraid to outgrow environments, people, or versions of herself that no longer align with her purpose. She knows comfort is a trap and growth is war, but she's willing to fight it. She's not defined by where she started, who left, what broke, or how many times she failed. She's defined by what she refused to give up on, herself. And that kind of resilience, that kind of fire, is not something you can fake. She's not on a path to fit in. She's on a mission to rise, to become the version of herself that no one saw coming, not even her. That is what happens when a woman decides to build herself. The world doesn't just watch, it changes. You want to be a woman of high standards? Then don't just walk into a room, own it with your energy before you say a single word. Because here is the truth, the confidence is not a tone, a look or a pose. It's a vibration. It's the silent force that enters before you and stays long after you've left. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't beg for validation or seek applause. It is the unshakable belief that you are enough, with or without the world's permission. It's not born in comfort zones. It's carved through pain, refined in rejection, and unleashed when you stop hiding behind fear. A high-standard woman doesn't wait for someone to tell her she's powerful. She doesn't wait to be seen, liked. approved, or clapped for. She steps into her space like she belongs there because she knows, without a shadow of doubt, that she does. You don't become magnetic by trying to impress. You become magnetic when you finally accept yourself completely, your flaws, your history, your quiet rage, your resilience, that raw authenticity. That's what makes you unforgettable. Not filters, not mimicry, not pretending to be soft when you're made of fire. Your confidence should not be tied to compliments. It should not rise and fall with who stays or who leaves. It should not collapse under the weight of silence or inflate with noise. It should come from one place only, your truth. The kind of truth that whispers, I don't need to prove anything. I already am. You've spent too long seeking approval in places that profit off your insecurity. Too long tuning yourself down so you wouldn't make others uncomfortable. Too long wondering if you're too loud, too intense, too different. But let me tell you something. You are not too much. You are just too real for people still hiding. Confidence is walking through the fire of criticism without flinching. It's holding your head high when they misunderstand you. It's staying graceful in the face of envy. It's knowing that your worth is not determined by who claps, but by who you refuse to shrink for. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them misunderstand your strength as arrogance. You don't owe them softness if they confuse your power for pride. You don't need to break yourself into pieces just to be digestible for fragile egos. When you walk with confidence, you'll intimidate the insecure. You'll threaten the ones who thrive on control. You'll be misunderstood by those who only respect submission. But you weren't born to please the weak. You were born to awaken the strong. You don't need a spotlight to shine. You don't need a stage to be seen. You don't need permission to be fierce, firm, and feminine all at once. Own your power. Don't dilute it. Don't apologize for it. Because when you walk in your full truth, the right people won't be offended. They'll be inspired. Confidence is not an act. It's not something you put on like makeup. It's built through nights when you cried alone. Through days when no one believed in you, but you kept going anyway. Through moments you chose silence over chaos, dignity over drama, and healing over revenge. And don't ever mistake stillness for weakness. A confident woman doesn't always speak the loudest. Sometimes she just smiles, walks away, and lets her silence destroy everything that was meant to break her. You want to know what real power is? It's not in dominance. It's not in control. It's in peace. It's in the kind of peace that says, I am not chasing anything. What's meant for me will meet me at my level. It's in not reacting to every insult, not proving yourself to every critic. It's in preserving your energy like a queen protects her crown. Every time you stand tall in your truth, you rise above the noise. Every time you trust your voice over their opinions, you reclaim your power. Every time you walk into a room and make no effort to shrink, to please, to bend, you show the world what a woman of real confidence looks like. So wear your confidence like armor, not to fight, but to protect the empire you're building. Speak with clarity, not noise. Move with intention, not desperation. Love yourself so deeply that no rejection feels like a death sentence. Stand in your worth so fully that no betrayal can steal your value. Because when your confidence is rooted in truth, not trends, not titles, not attention, you become unstoppable. And the moment you stop asking the world if you're enough, the moment you decide that you already are, that's the moment the world starts to adjust to you. Let me make this very clear to you. Your standards are not a burden. They are your signature. They are not walls to push people away. They are gates to protect your peace, your power, your purpose. When a woman has high standards, she's not being difficult. She's being intentional. There is nothing arrogant about knowing what you deserve. There is nothing harsh about refusing to settle. Because the moment you lower your standards just to fit into someone else's comfort zone, you don't just compromise your values, you shrink your soul. You weren't born to be tolerated. You weren't made to be a convenient option in someone's indecision. You are not here to chase breadcrumbs of attention or beg for the bare minimum and call it love. You are the main course. You are the table. You are the entire damn room. Stop apologizing for your expectations. Stop softening your voice so others don't feel small in your presence. You do not owe anyone comfort at the cost of your dignity. When a woman stands tall in her standards, she commands respect without saying a word. High standards don't mean perfection. They mean clarity. Clarity about what lifts your soul and what drains it. Clarity about who you are and what you refuse to become. They are the compass that keeps you from getting lost in the chaos of this world. They are the shield that blocks out the noise and the nonsense. Yes, it will cost you people. Yes, it will make you look too much for the small-minded. But that's the point. You're not supposed to be accessible to everyone. You're not supposed to be understood by the average. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be respected. You want loyalty. Give it to yourself first. You want truth. Speak it, even if your voice shakes. You want value. Then stop entertaining what insults your worth. Don't let loneliness trick you into giving permanent space to temporary people. Every time you say no to something that doesn't align with your standards, you say yes to yourself. Every time you walk away from confusion, you walk toward clarity. Every time you choose peace over chaos, silence over drama, and depth over attention, you are building an unshakable foundation of self-respect. You don't have to scream your standards. Just embody them. Show them in how you walk, how you speak, how you carry your name. Let people learn how to treat you by watching how you treat yourself. If they can't rise to meet you where you are, they don't belong in your space. And don't be afraid to be misunderstood. Don't be afraid to be called intimidating, cold, distant, guarded. Because when you stop playing small, the world will call your power a problem. Let them. Because the ones who truly see you won't run from your standards, they will rise to meet them. Let me tell you something important. Protecting your energy is not being selfish. It's being strategic. You don't let just anyone into your home. Why would you let them into your heart, your mind, your peace, your future? You are not a rehab center for broken egos. You are not a mirror for someone else's validation. You are not a toy for their boredom or a bandage for their wounds. You are a woman who built herself from ashes, from silence, from storms. Your time is sacred. Your energy is sacred. Your love is sacred. Treat it that way. Let them say you're high maintenance. Let them say you're too picky. Let them call you hard to love. Because the truth is, they've never met a woman who refused to settle for half-hearted love, half-truths, or half-effort. You're not hard to love. You're just not easy to fool. And when you finally understand this, when you stop explaining, stop justifying, stop dimming your light, you become untouchable. Not because you're perfect, but because you are finally walking in alignment with your truth. And when a woman walks in her truth, she doesn't just change her world, she changes the standard for every woman who comes after her. So stand tall in your standards, own them, protect them, let them filter the world for you. Because when you stop negotiating with your worth, when you stop compromising your soul just to feel less alone, you don't just demand respect, you command it. And that, my dear, is when the world stops offering you crumbs and starts giving you the whole damn throne.